Welcome to the Land Your Bet Sports Betting Show. Looking at the NBA on Tuesday here, following up a great Monday on the slate. More than 6.5 units that we made on Monday night. So a happy MLK Day to us all. Going to be going through some of the looks that I have here for Tuesday in the NBA as well. Also got a little discount for you guys for anyone interested in jumping into the VIP, where we are up more than 45 units now. So I'm going to get into all that right now. If that sounds good, give that video a like. Let's get right into it. Yes, sir. Little 10-3, 13 bets on the card there, 6.5 units that we did make. Ahmed Thompson told little bro. Oscar Thompson, what's up? He got his 26.5 PRA. Actually didn't get quite that much over it after a really, really good first half, slowed down in the second half, and then the Pistons actually won that game. Nick Smith Jr. was an easy cash by the third quarter there with a lot of the Hornets missing. And then DeAndre Hunter just got down to 15.5, way too low for someone averaging 19 a game. Plus, he's been on a sort of cold streak. So we were really looking at the positive regression. At some point, we knew his averages had to come back up. At the Garden, seemed like a good game. He soared past this, and I believe was either second on the Hawks in scoring or led them in scoring. Jalen Johnson, I love the most because he didn't get his points prop. He didn't get his assist prop, but he got the double-double with the points and the rebounds because he got 12 boards and had the 11 points there. So felt great about that. Chris Stapps, we found on the live show yesterday on Monday. Actually, a lot of this stuff we found on the live show, and I just kind of want to make that clear. Like Porzingis, Pritchard, we didn't have those bets for the video that I made the night before the slate on Monday rather. So we really needed to wait for some of these bets, including Isaiah Collier. Needed to wait on that one. Needed to wait on Jordan Hawkins as well. Didn't have any of those bets. Didn't have DeAndre Hunter the night before. So my point is I'm going to be giving you the best that I have for tonight and helping you look at what you should be betting on based on how these injury reports play out, right? That's what I'm trying to say. So just keep that in mind as we run through these bets. Santi Aldama found on the show, didn't work out. Nick Richards, I had mention of in the video yesterday. He got 3 fouls in the first 2 quarters, so we couldn't get there with him. But just looking at it, 45.5 units up, 289 and 242 on the season, and felt really good about the last 2 days now. If you look at Saturday, took a day off on Sunday, didn't love that slate at all. Love Saturday as well. 8 bets on the card, 6-2 plus 3.8 units. So more than 10 units up over the last 2 days, which is why I'm letting y'all know we do have a code for 50% off your first month in the VIP. Up 10 is the code. We got 5 total codes there after the 10.3 units that we made here in the last couple of days. Feeling really good about that. So do jump in there if you want to use that code to get a 50% off your first month. You can also get a free month if you sign up for any of the sports books listed in the description of the video, or they're all listed sort of scrolling right beneath me there as well. We've got Better, BetMGM, Sleeper, Underdog, and a couple others as well. So make sure you check out the description of the video for everything that you need. For now, let's get into what I have here for Tuesday. Quick reminder, as we're looking at everything we have here, going to have the live show as well, 5:30 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday, doing that every weekday at the same time. That's when the injury reports are coming out. We're getting some finalized lineups, so that's really the best time to be doing this stuff on the fly, finding a lot of great bets on the show because of the ideal timing there with the rotation news and all that stuff coming out in the NBA each weekday. We are going to be using Props Madness here as we do whenever we're on the live show or on these episodes as well. If you're not familiar with this platform, highly recommend checking it out. You can use a 7-day free trial to test it out before having to pay for anything. And then it is $20 a month. But if you want to get 25% off your first month using Props Madness, you can go ahead and use code LYB and get yourself a little discount there. I'm going to kick it off here in this Raptors Magic game. And the first guy I'm looking at here is Scotty Barnes. And a couple of things come to mind with Scotty. What are the assists at? This got pummeled for sure. It was 5.5. I got this at -105 on Bet365, and this quickly got bet up because 5.5 is too low for a man who's averaging 6.5 on the season, going to be playing without Emmanuel quickly as well, which is sort of the crucial thing here. So if we get this at 6.5 or plus money, I still think you're in a good place to be able to take this, but we should be looking at the fact that when Scotty Barnes plays without Emmanuel quickly, he gets a lot more assists, essentially, right? And he is the true de facto point guard. So I'm going to take Emmanuel quickly out of the lineup this season and just show you that he's gone over in 16 of 20. I think it's actually a little bit more than that. Yeah, 17 of 22 games that he's gone over here, averaging 7 assists per game when he's playing without IQ. Now, obviously, this Orlando Magic team is not a good defense. It's a very good defense, but it's not good for people trying to get assists or points or really any stats against it. On the season, they are number 1, limiting assists. So not the best matchup, but numbers, like just strictly speaking about the numbers here, 5.5 was just too low. I would take this up to -135. If you can still get this by the time you're seeing this at -135 for Scotty Barnes on the dimes, I love that for him. If you'd rather take him at about 5 assists or so and maybe parlay that with something, that's not my recommendation, is to take those minus alt lines. If you miss the assist, you miss it. But I think that there's still going to be an opportunity to get 5.5 at least for like -135. So hopefully you guys can pull that off for Scotty. Sticking with the Raptors here, I like a lot of the stuff here for Poeltl. What we're seeing with Poeltl, especially against this Magic squad, I like the rebounds and I like the points. Starting with the rebounds here at 10.5. This is going to be a matchup against Wendell Carter. Like this Orlando Magic team is just completely depleted now, especially without. Now we might not have Gary Harris in this game, but we don't have Franz, we don't have Mo. Goga Batadze is out. The coin respecter is not going to be in there, so Wendell Carter Jr. is going to be the man who's playing center. We'll talk about him in a second, but if you're a center going up against undersized Wendell Carter Jr. and you're very oversized Jakob Poeltl, I would expect you to have some success today. If you want to take the rebounds, 10.5 up to -120 is where I would take this. I would not go much lower than that, but I don't know that we're going to have 10.5 here on Tuesday by the time everybody's able to see this episode. The points are going to be what I prefer, but if you're looking at the rebounds, I will say 7 of the last 8 centers have gotten their prop against this squad. If you look at Rudy Gobert, before that Kessler, before that Poeltl did not get his 10 boards that he would need, or 11 boards that he would need in this game. That was there's a couple of good reasons for that, to be honest. I believe he was still on a minutes limit as well after he came back from injury. Now he's completely off of that here, about a couple weeks later, almost 3 weeks later actually, after this game here on the 3rd. I was like, what is today? Oh, it's the 20th already. Yeah, so this is definitely something that happened right when he was coming back from injury. Everybody else is getting over their prop here and getting 12 for most of these guys as well, or 11 for everybody except for Daniel Gafford. But we know he's playing alongside the other center, Derek Lively. So there's a reason they split. But one of these, or both centers playing against this squad, have gotten their boards consistently now. When we're looking at the points for Poeltl, yes, we can definitely look at Props Madness and go, look, I'm going to take IQ, put him off the court, and see what that does. A little bit better, right? 15.3 points per game as opposed to 14.8 points per game for Poeltl when he's playing without Emmanuel Quickley, which obviously they're not playing the same position, but shots are shots, and Quickley's taking a lot of them and has the ball in his hands a lot. So without him on the floor, Poeltl gets a little bit more prioritized in the offense. This is Fantasy Labs, and I want to use this to show you guys what happens when Poeltl not only plays without Quickley in the game as a whole, but what happens when he's playing with the lineups that we're going to see him play with here on Tuesday. So starting with the guys I want to put on court here for him, I'm taking a few of these guys that I know are going to play tomorrow. I'm taking RJ Barrett, and I'm taking Scotty Barnes and Poeltl. Where are you at, Jakob? And I'm putting them on the floor together. So I'm selecting them on court, and then off court, I am selecting Emmanuel Quickley because he's going to be off, as we know. And I believe Ochai as well, but we'll just put Emmanuel Quickley off court, right? And now we can see what these per 36-minute numbers are for these guys. And we can see for Poeltl here, he's at about 18.7 points per 36 minutes when he's playing in any lineup that has RJ Barrett and Scotty Barnes, but does not have Emmanuel Quickley. So that's a pretty good number right there. He's looking at about 12.5 shots. That's plenty for a guy who's shooting all of his shots right next to the rim. So that's the first thing I do a lot of times when we see guys out, like IQ, who's very, very important here. We know he's out, so I want to know what happens when he's not on the court. When he's just off court and these guys are playing together, what happens? Well, Poeltl gets about 18, almost 19 points per 36 minutes. If you put him at about 30 minutes and project him to play that much here on Tuesday, you're looking at about 16 and a half point projection for him, pretty solidly over the 12.5. That's a pretty nice edge for the Poeltl points. RJ Barrett, if you're interested, he does get about 8 rebounds per 36 minutes and 6 assists. So we might actually have a pretty good edge there on his rebounds. We'll look at that for RJ. And for Scotty Barnes, we see about 9 boards and 9 assists per 36 minutes. And I expect both those guys to be playing 36 minutes against the Magic. So it's a tough matchup. I don't think you want to use these. I think you want to give yourself a little bit more room here and say, take one away. Like one of these, let's say it's assists for Scotty Barnes and he's averaging 9. I think we should probably project him for 8 because he's playing a very, very good defense at limiting assists. But I think either way, you project Scotty for about 7 assists. Let's look at RJ rebounds, because I said he's averaging about 8 rebounds per 36 minutes. I expect him to play 36 minutes. He's at 6.5. So if we project him to get about 8 here tonight, and once again, maybe we should be projecting closer to 7.5, right? Because this Magic defense is very, very good. This rebounding and limiting assists, very, very good. So while we have a projection of about 8 rebounds for RJ per 36 minutes, we should probably make that about 7 rebounds per 36 minutes based strictly on the matchup here and how bad of a matchup it is for him. So if this was 5.5 rebounds for RJ, which I thought it might even get a couple down to that on a couple books, I think this is an over at 5.5, but 6.5 is going to be a stay away. So I'm going to be monitoring this tomorrow before the live show for Barrett's rebounds to see if we can get that down to 5.5. For Scotty Barnes, the assists are already a bet. At 5.5, I think you're good to make this up to minus 135. If you want to take 6.5 on the dimes, I'm not going to tell you not to, but I would only be doing that for plus 110 or 115. I would not be doing it for anything less than about plus 110 if I'm going over 6.5 assists for Scotty Barnes on Tuesday. Looking at a couple of Magic players, got to start with Paolo. And I mean, we were talking in the VIP tonight. Shout out my guy, Crank Zone. 4.5 assists was at about plus 110 for Paolo. That got completely destroyed. It's now minus 130 for the dimes. This Toronto team right here is giving up the 10th or 11th most assists per game on the season. They're giving up like the 10th most points inside the paint as well. So this is definitely a bet you can make for Paolo in some way. Now, here's the thing. 24.5 points for Paolo. I would love to just blindly go over that because 24.5 points for Paolo, especially playing without Franz Wagner, that's a bet. I want to also show you, though, what a quick Google search of typing in Paolo Banchero, Jamal Mosley, minutes, whatever, got this great post from Jason Beatty, one of the beat reporters covering the Magic. He was at shoot around talking to Jamal Mosley in the post shoot around press conference, or whatever, availability, confirmed that the coach Mosley confirmed Paolo is still on a minutes restriction. He played 29 minutes Sunday in his 5th game back after a 2+ month absence. And what Mosley said directly was it's going to be game by game and see how he feels and how he recovers after these minutes. So, I mean, they didn't play since Sunday, so he'll at least have one extra day off. But if we've got Paolo with about a 29, 30-minute restriction, barring, him feeling really good, it's tough to take an over. So if this goes down a little bit, I think that type of quote and the news that he might be on a minutes restriction will push this down enough for us to potentially go over it, even if he is playing 30 minutes, especially because this Toronto defense is terrible. And everything I said about sort of project one fewer prop for Scotty or whomever, because the defense they're playing is so good. For Paolo, it's almost the opposite. It's like we can kind of probably give him another bump on the points and project him for a little bit more than we normally would because he's playing the Toronto Raptors, who are terrible on defense. One of the worst defenses in the league. Their defensive rating at this point is 28th, so 3rd worst, to be very specific with you. I'm going to see what happens to Paolo on the 24.5 points. If this is still there and market pressure isn't moving it down, maybe we can get another quote from Mosley at tomorrow's shoot around. So there's reasons to sort of be patient here, but know that Paolo is someone that I'm itching to bet on against a very, very bad defense. Now, I do like Wendell Carter on the points for tomorrow, and I like him a lot more than the boards, although he's been doing both of those since he's been in the starting lineup the last 2 games. So you can see here on the rebounds in the last 2 games, he started against the Celtics, played 32 minutes, then started against the Nuggets, played 34 minutes. And he's going to be needed again. I mean, against Jakob Poeltl, there's really nobody else that's tall enough even to play center for this team. It's basically Jonathan Isaac and Wendell Carter. And Jonathan Isaac, I don't think he's been getting very many minutes in the last 2 either. He played 12 minutes against the Nuggets and 20 minutes against the Celtics. They just don't trust this dude, man, and for good reason. He's a liability on the court, as good as he is on defense. But that said, if we're looking at the Wendell Carter points, I think you project him for another 30+ minutes. There's no way you can keep him off the floor. And although I don't think he'll have a good time rebounding against Jakob Poeltl, and I don't know that I'll be going to the boards, I think he'll have a pretty decent time scoring on Jakob Poeltl because he is a mismatch because of the ability to shoot threes. So he's going to be pulling Jakob Poeltl from the basket. In fact, the threes, even at 1.5 for like good money, not a great look. Okay, it's not as good as I thought it might be. I started to be like, in fact, but no. Let's stick to just the points because he took 15 shots against the Nuggets and 4 free throws. He took 9 shots against the Celtics, but he shot 10 free throws in that game. So his involvement, like he basically is at about 14, 15 shot attempts per game. In the other game that he shot 9 times against the Celtics, he went to the line 10 times, which means there was probably about 5 field goal attempts that he got fouled on, right? And that's why he went to the line. So I still think he's going to be up there if he doesn't get fouled, which, by the way, this Toronto team, if you come down here to look at play type analysis, they're dead last allowing free throws. So that's another reason why I like a guy like Wendell Carter and a guy like Paolo. Those are the two guys going to the rim the most and that are most likely to get fouled when they get there. So I like Wendell Carter's points. I don't really love his rebounds, but I think I'm going to be going for, might be able to get this at 11.5. Another reason to be patient when you see it at 12.5, but it's juiced way to the under. So it's plus 101 odds on Pinnacle, a sports book here, to go over 12.5, meaning we might be able to see this get bumped down to 11.5. So I'm going to wait till morning to bet on Wendell Carter Jr. But this is a guy that I'm definitely targeting here for Tuesday. All right, moving to this Wizards-Lakers game real quick, because I said it the other day in the VIP and on the live show, I'm really not trying to bet on the Wizards, not even really trying to bet against them, unless it's the opposing big man against the Wizards, because that person can just get whatever they want against a team that is giving up, I believe, still about the fourth most. I'm going to go over here to FanDuel Fantasy Pros. This is going to show me team defense versus position, so I can see who's giving up a ton of points to centers on the other team. If we look at this, the Wizards are giving up the most points to the opposing center, and they're giving up the fourth most rebounds per game to the opposing center. So big men on the other side can do whatever they want. I think power forwards are they're giving up the most rebounds per game to power forwards, and in the bottom 10 in terms of giving up points to power forwards. So if you're playing in the front court against the Wizards, you're probably going to be pretty successful. Well, Anthony Davis happens to be the guy in line to play against them. However, he's questionable to play, and it wouldn't shock me to see him catch a breather against what is probably the worst team, although the Nets would like a word, one of the 2 or 3 worst teams in the league in the Washington Wizards. So Anthony Davis, if he does play, man, maybe at the very least Q1 points, even if it's 8.5 and you think he's going to get 10 minutes in the first quarter, which is normally what he's playing, 10, 11, 10, 10, 12, 12, 10. He's playing most of the first quarter here. So I'm actually feeling pretty good about the first quarter points if he plays. If he doesn't play, his backup is going to be Jackson Hayes, and I'm still going to take minutes and points and rebounds for Jackson Hayes in that game and feel really good about anybody going to the rim, including LeBron, who's probable, but I don't know that he'll have to do much. This should be a blowout of the Wizards, and the big man on the other side should be doing the bulk of the work. So we'll revisit this on the live show at 5:30 and probably have a bet for Jackson Hayes in this one. Reminder, we have the live show tomorrow, 5:30 p.m. Eastern. Got what we could out of tonight's slate so far with the early looks, and then it's time to get back into the official injury news and stuff when the show goes live at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, and we can finally know who's playing, who's starting, who we can expect to get minutes. And last reminder here too, if you do want to jump into the VIP, not miss any of these bets, because not every single bet makes it into the show or the live show, you can get into the VIP Discord for 50% off your first month if you use code UP10 after we made 10 units in the last couple of days here betting on the NBA. So feeling good about that. Looking forward to seeing you guys on the live show at 5:30. And until I do, happy betting.